When the Spanish first arrived in Mexico, they kept asking the native people, "What is this land called?" They kept saying, "Yucatan." So the Spanish said, "Oh, this is the Yucatan Peninsula." Turns out, the native people had no idea what the Spanish were asking them, and Yucatan means "we don't understand you."
That's one explanation, but it's not the only one. Like, it's also been said that the yucca in Yucatan comes from the yucca plant. You might also know it as cassava. And I first learned that in college when I had to read this book, The Conquest of New Spain by Bernal Díaz. And Bernal Díaz is like a conquistador who documented his experiences conquisting. I'm gonna read a little bit for you here, but I'm just paraphrasing a touch. They replied that there were some gold mines in their country, but Bernal Díaz considered this to be untrue. The Spaniards understood this newly discovered country to be called Yucatan. In fact, the prisoners were explaining that they cultivate the yucca or cassava, the plant of which they make their bread. In addition to that, you might hear that Yucatan comes from Yucatan, which is the name of the language of the indigenous Yucatano people. You might also hear that it comes from a word meaning massacre, and I'm sure there are other explanations floating around out there. So what's the truth? I don't really know for sure. I think it's okay to admit that. But the story about kangaroo meaning I don't understand, that one's for sure not true. That one's fake.